I'm excited that we're going to be able to do this. I'm really looking forward to growing myself, but wanting to make sure that I'm doing everything I need to for my class. So I'm ready to dig into
I'm
this.
excited to learn with you. Okay, so you had a chance to fill out your rubric.
I did, and it was very, it was eye-opening. It was good, and I'm excited to share with you what I found.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to kind of go off of my questions over here just to make sure that since this is one of my first ones, I want to make sure that I include everything and help you set a good goal. So just starting off on a scale of 1 to 7, just overall, if 7 is proficient, how closely do you feel like your lesson that you reflected on is to a 7?
With me having to do the self-reflections and the student reflection, I think if we averaged all that, I would probably be a 5.
Okay.
I really liked how the lesson went, but I know there's room for growth, and
okay.
I'm thinking a 5.
Okay. So what would you have to do to make that closer to a 7?
When I went back and I was looking at the video and then of course filling this out, I really realized that my students had problems with misconceptions.
Okay.
They were engaged, but the misconceptions just kept coming up.
Okay. So what could you see your students doing differently?
Well, probably understanding that it was a multiplication, it was a story problem.
Okay.
And they had to figure out what type of operation it was first before they could earn their numbers to actually solve it.
Oh, that's great.
And a lot of them were seeing the word total and thought it was an addition problem. And then some of my kids that knew what the operation was, they knew the correct operation, but they didn't know why. They couldn't explain it to me. And so I really think that if I could help them better understand that not just go off the total and the why, I think we would all be better off.
Okay, awesome. So how could we measure that?
Oh, I don't know.
That's okay.
I'm not sure how we
That's
can
okay.
measure that.
I have some sample goals here, and so this always helps me to kind of look at some that people have used in the past and see if maybe there's any that might fit what you're thinking would improve your classroom.
I'm going to use my self-reflection here and see. I think for our goals, I think I need to mainly work on the misconceptions.
Okay.
So,
and really, these goals are a little bit more broad than misconceptions. They're kind of like, you know, if your students understood the misconceptions, like if they weren't tripped up on that part, then what would we see them doing? So it's kind of, if that part was better, then what would the outcome be for your kids? So when you look at this, like this
being
one,
able to explain the why.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Like this one, 90% of students are able to demonstrate their learning in more than one way. That might be one thing. I think there is one, like you said, that talks about explaining the why. Oh, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Students are asked, 90 to 95% of the time, students are asked, that are asked are able to explain the why and say, I know this because.
I like that. I like that idea, because if they can explain the why to myself or a fellow student, then they understand the concept.
Right.
So,
and I feel like that misconceptions is great. Maybe that's kind of like a strategy if you are looking into those misconceptions and kind of focusing on clarifying those. That would help you reach that goal.
Okay. Strategies, where can I find those?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. Okay, so with T-Tess, there's a very detailed rubric. It's pretty extensive, and it can become kind of overwhelming. So what I like to do is, and I can send you this link, but it's just off of the TEA website. And what I like to do when I get in here is just hit the Control and the F, which pulls up my Find search. So then that way, if I'm looking for a certain word or topic, it will kind of search the document
Okay.
for me and take me straight to what we're looking at. So I know you've talked a lot about misconceptions, so I'm going to type that in and see if we can find anything. Okay, and so do you see how it pulls up? It looks like the communication. Yeah, that dimension 2-3. So you might want to pull that dimension out and kind of look at that one. And it looks like if you kind of look across at the bullets that kind of go, that are kind of similar across the rubric with that, it looks like they're kind of using misunderstandings as well as misconceptions.
Yeah, I only noticed that in the distinguish that misconceptions is, it's the only word there.
Right. It's not listed in the other. It's more the
Yes.
misunderstandings. Let's look at the proficient column and see what it says specifically about those misunderstandings.
Recognize student misunderstandings in response with an array of teaching techniques to clarify concepts.
Okay.
So they use the word misunderstandings there.
Right. So do you think that's something, maybe a recipe that you feel like?
I think so. I
Might help you reach your
definitely.
goal.
I'm going to put a star next to that.
Okay.
Because I really
Awesome.
like that. Could we, where instead of the misconceptions, could we see about plugging in the misunderstandings?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let's pull that up and see. Because we know that it's going to be addressed in this communication dimension. Let's see if it's anywhere else. Looks like it's listed several times on that rubric. Okay, this one's coming up, content, knowledge, and expertise, which is 2.2. And let's look at the proficient column on that one and see what it says.
Anticipates possible student misunderstandings. It's there again.
Okay, so they're kind of using misunderstandings in these columns. Okay, there's something I want to show you. Have you ever noticed the misconceptions in your IFD?
I would like to be reminded where those
Okay.
are.
Okay, let me, I actually, let's see, have the TEKS resource pulled up, and I went ahead and pulled up your current unit that you're working on.
Oh, great.
And
Thank you.
the cool thing about this is you can do the same thing. If you just hit the Control F, it will pop up that find box for you again, and so I'm going to start typing in misconceptions on that, and it just takes you straight down, and it's really right after the PAs and some of the key understandings in that, you'll find misconceptions and underdeveloped concepts.
Okay.
So like if we let's just read the first one. It says, you want to read it?
Some students may think the word total, that's what mine were doing, in a problem situation always indicates addition rather than recognizing it is a multiplication situation as finding the total number of objects in equal sized groups. That's definitely one of the misconceptions that was happening in my classroom.
So that might be a helpful tool
Okay.
in like that 2.2, anticipating those misconceptions. I would like to show you another tool that I think might be helpful. Are you familiar with the high yield strategies from Lead
Yes.
Forward? Okay.
Yes, but I wish there was an easier way to, I guess, be more focused and specific.
Right. Well, obviously I'd like the Control Find tool, so I'm going to show you how I use that on here as well. So if you hit your Control Find, and we're just going to type in misconceptions again on this tool, and then it's going to take you to the strategies that address that. And I know Lead Forward uses that word misconceptions. I know that's part of their vocabulary. So, and you could also type in misunderstandings. You just kind of have to play with it to see which
I might get more feedback on.
right, depending on the tool you're on. So this one has this always, sometimes, never. Have you ever tried that strategy?
I don't think I have.
Okay.
I'm definitely interested, especially if it's going to get my kids engaged. And
Right. Well, I'll get you a printout of that before you leave.
Okay.
And then also this one's Factor Fib Showdown.
Yes,
You
my
guys have done
students
that
have
one?
loved that in years past.
Okay, so that might be a good one to look at, specific to misconceptions. And then also this one's called What Went Wrong. And I'm just clicking next, and every time I click next, it pops up the next time it sees misconceptions in the document. This one reminds me of the teaching channel has a video called My Favorite No. Have you ever seen it?
I'd like to.
Okay, well, it's a lot like, I mean, it's pretty much the strategy What Went Wrong,
Okay.
where you select one student's problem that they had worked incorrectly, and then you kind of get to talk about that as a class and kind of talk through why it was wrong and why it might be tricky. So I'll shoot you that video.
Okay, that'd be great, especially
Okay.
if I can see how it's done, just visually get an idea of how I might
Right.
work that in my classroom. That'd be
Yeah,
a great
awesome.
tool.
And I don't know if I really want to provide some models for you so that you feel comfortable in addressing this part of the rubric.
Mhm.
So would you like for me to, I know I have a teacher in mind that does
I
this
would
really
love
well.
to see this.
Okay.
In live. Yes,
Okay,
I would love
okay.
to see this.
Well, I will try to touch base with her,
Okay.
and then if she's okay with it, then I'll let you know, and we'll set up a time. I'm happy to come take your class, or if you want to do it during library or however,
Okay.
I'll help you guys work that out so
That'd
you can
be
go
great.
see. Okay.
Yes, thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you. I'm excited.
Do you
about
feel like you
setting
have the
this-
tools
I've-
you need?
Yes, I did. It's showing me the different things on the computer. I feel like and then even that self-reflection, I feel like I have a starting point. I
Okay.
have my recipe. I know where I'm going to go. And I know that I have you as a resource
please,
as well.
let me know if you need
And
help.
I'm excited to get
Well,
started.
I can't wait to see what you do with it because I know it'll be awesome. Okay.
Thank
thanks.
you.